Hey friends, and welcome back to the Gentleman's Journey. In this one, I'm so excited, guys. We're in the Pacific Northwest, over here in Spokane at Frank's Boots. Guys, they've all but rolled out the red carpet for us today, so we're gonna go through just all the different lasts, all the different arch profiles, some of the toe boxes. Guys, we're gonna get a sneak peek back there in the factory. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, so come along with us. But hey, Frank, thanks so much for having us.
You're
and
welcome.
We're just so excited
Thank
to be here.
you for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Heck yeah. So again, we're gonna get into some of this stuff. I think we're gonna start back in the factory and get kind of a sneak peek, eh?
Sounds great. I'm ready when you are.
Let's head back there.
Okay.
All right, guys, so here I am in my happy place. We're behind the scenes checking out, feeling stuff, touching stuff, and smelling stuff. We're gonna walk you guys through the kind of the process of what a boot would go through when you place your order here online.
So it starts out in the upper department. This is full side of a cow. That's a half of the side. That is the cow's backbone right here. When we cut our boots, we like to cut the full pair, all out of one hide. That gives it consistency.
I gotcha.
So you have 4 uppers, which is 2 on each side of the leg, and then 2 on the other side of the leg, and then 2 pieces of toe leather. So eventually these will be sewn, and we'll show you this in a little bit.
Yep.
It'll be sewn together, and that'll start your upper pattern. And
how good is that?
yeah, yep, 7.5, 8 ounce full grain leather, and
Out of the same piece of
all
hide.
out of the
That's
same,
awesome.
all out of the same hide.
Yeah. So behind us here, you're stamping it.
Yeah, so this is a die cuts on some of them. Often we'll still do hand cuts, because when you have a pattern that if a customer doesn't meet a standard pattern,
Okay.
we will alter the leg patterns or the foot for that customer individually. So if you send your fit sheets in and we determine that you have a big leg or a skinny leg, we can make it to your leg. So when we're done with the stamping and the cutting, they'll get stacked in groups, and then they'll move them on to the sewing department. We'll start to sew them together.
Awesome.
So this sewing department, when they put the boot together, this is partially done here. They have sewn the upper to the tongue, and the next step and next phase will be sewing the actual upper to the vamp. This is called the vamp. That's the toe leather that goes over your toe, and it ends up being a finished product like this. 4 rows of stitching here, 2 rows holding the tongue in. This area right here is called the blucher. That is sewn, that's where the vamp sews to the tongue. And from there, it will receive the hooks in the eyes. We'll put those in, that'll be the next process, and we can move on to that. So this process is applying the hooks in the eyes into the boot. Most cases, we're gonna have an eyelet up at the top and then hooks on the way down. This little machine here is a hand press, and it will clinch the back of the eyelet and squeeze it so that it doesn't come out. And then the next process, we'll be putting hooks in.
So we've wound through the factory a bit. Tell us where we're at now.
So here we're matching the shoe lasts up with the actual size of the boot. So you'll have this boot in particular is a 7.5E, both feet. Now sometimes as we're building boots, you're going to find that the customer would have 2 different sizes. Could be an 8, could be a 7.5, and we'll do that too.
How good is that?
That's great for a customer who's got odd sized feet. And then we'll build sizes anywhere from 3 all the way to 16. And the widths are double and 3A all the way to 4E or an F, which is really wide, really long, really narrow, really short. We can do it many different ways.
Heck yeah, no, that size 15, I mean, that's a big boy. I'd hate to mess with that guy. So you want to make friends with him and not enemies. I noticed that you have a 7.5F and a 7.5, well, that's an E, but I imagine you got to have multiple sets so you can be working on several different guys' boots at the same time.
Yeah, we do. We have duplicates in most all of the sizes. So some of them 5 to 8 lasts so that we can have those pairs coming through at the same time.
That makes good sense.
Helps the production time flow better. And then if we don't have that last, we can actually take one of these and alter it to the shape of the person's foot.
I see.
Custom fitting.
You know, and on that note of making a last bigger, I think that's really important because this is called the gentleman's journey, and I'm kind of used to getting boots off the shelf. You know, that's what we do. We run down to the local store, to Walmart or whatever. We grab our boots and then we just settle with their imperfections. And I think that's something neat about you guys is you can make it bigger or smaller. You can make it custom fit. You know, I would say just shy of bespoke. And that's kind of what you got going on over here, right?
Yeah. This is the one of the examples is this customer in particular. He has little toe sticks out, and he's got hammer toe pieces. So we build it up here, we build it off to the side here to allow his foot to sit in the boot and sit comfortably. It won't get too squeezed. Another example is this one. Just needed a big side piece. He's got a thick instep.
Okay.
But this one is the one that we were talking about. Is the big shoe last. He's a 15, we're turning it into a 16 and getting some width to it. So this will probably end up being about a double E when it's done. We're not completely done with it yet. We have to put some side pieces on because he has little toes that stick out. So we're actually going to make this to the shape of his foot when he's standing. So that's custom fitting.
And we're going to go into fitting here in a little bit. We're going to get a fitting on me and stuff like that, but I think you guys can see stuff like this will give you the confidence that you need, that you're spending your good hard-earned money in the right place for shoes that are gonna, whether you're up in the mountains traipsing around moving logs or you're just working in a factory or something, whatever you're doing, you're gonna have the confidence with the boots on your feet that they're gonna get you through the day.
This is the process of lasting. This is when they wrap the leather around the shoe laps so it takes its form. Some people call it a last. I mean, that's the most common term for it. Some will call it a mold. So you'll hear that, both of those terminologies. They wrap it around. They take all the stretch out of the leather and let it cure. This is a really important stage. This is the one I don't want to rush. I will always let a boot cure so that it takes its shape and adheres to the last. They'll trim the excess off. That's going to allow room for us to build the arch support up because you'll see the curve in the bottom of this last and it's going to need the arch support built into the center of it. So he's making the room for it to fit in there. That'll be done a little bit later. So this process that he's doing here is called shanking. He's going to build up the arch support. The arches themselves have a little bit of a scoop to them. This is my high arch boot, and he is putting the shank and the shank cover on. And that's what you're going to feel underneath your foot. When you put your foot in the boot, if you have the high heel, high arch, you're going to feel like a roll of pennies underneath your arch. And that's what he's building right here. After this step, he's going to put the midsole on that, and then he's going to secure it all together with what we call clinch nails. And we'll show you that in a minute. We get plastic or foam. We've applied the midsole to the boot and we're going to nail it all together. These nails go in and they'll go all the way through and hit the bottom of the shoe last, which is metal, and then it clinches. They turn over and it squeezes everything together. Really important process of holding the interior of the boot together and forming the shape of the arch again to support the body weight once the boot is built, and you're going to carry your weight in the boot for the day. I love that sound. You'll hear it when you're editing. It's a little pop, 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 pop. I love it. The next part of it is going to be the clinch hammer. These hammers are built on a special angle. They come down like this, and he's going to hit it and pull. He's going to hit the head of the nail, and that's when it's going to clinch and form the shape. So this part is really important too. So we were putting the sole on here. This is the rubber sole application. We've glued it, and then it's dried and cured, and then we'll put it on the bottom of the boot, and then put the boot in the press, and then we actually hammer it on afterwards to make sure that we get all the air out and good contact between the rubber sole and the bottom of the boot. A big part of the handmade boot world is the fact that you can rebuild and resole boots. This process right now is a boot being torn down. He's reaching in and cutting the stitches on the inside, and he'll take it apart. He'll take it apart. It'll start to look like this, and he'll eventually pull the toe leather off. Right now he's got all the guts out of the inside of the boot, and then he'll pull the toe leather off. And when we rebuild the boot, we'll replace everything from here down and reuse the upper portion of the boot. And in general, that runs about 50%, maybe 60% of the price of a new boot. Doesn't usually happen until after you've had the boot for about 5 to 7 years. You'll be wearing it, and then it might need a rebuild at that time. We reconstruct it, and it comes back almost new. So this is a finished rebuild. As you can see, it's got a used upper on it. I mean, this customer has worn this boot for many years, but when we're done, the whole bottom is new. So it goes from this to this. And he's ready to go for another 3 to 4 years of resoling, and then into a rebuild down the road. So the outside of the boot is sewn together with a World War II era stitcher. They're called Rapid Ease, and they will sole all the way through, from the toe leather all the way straight through the sole leather, and lock the boot together on the outside. All the way through from the toe leather. So this is my shop foreman, Jeff, and right now he's building a cork boot for the logging industry, punching the holes in the bottom so that you can accept the corks into the boot. These, for people who don't know about the logging industry and what we build this boot for, when they're out there and they drop a tree, they're going to stand on the tree and start to cut it or whatever they need to do. These will dig into the side of the tree, keep them from falling off, especially if it's slippery, if the tree's got moss on it or what have you. So that's what Jeff's doing now. So after we rough sand the boot and fine sand it down, the next step will be to finish and polish the boot. We're doing that here right now, and once it's done, then it'll move into the packaging and shipping department.
All right, so we made our way through the factory. Guys, I'm gonna have to rewind that and watch it over again. I encourage you to watch the rest of this section and then go back and watch the factory again, because it's just awesome. Some of that B-roll we got in there and stuff, all the workers doing their thing. It was just amazing. So now we're gonna get into, I think what you guys really wanna know as you're ordering your boots is just what you should be looking at. So we're gonna cover some of the last options, the toe box, you know, different kind of outsoles and all that stuff. We're gonna try to work through it analytically, but we're gonna go through some different boot options and give you guys a bunch of tips and pointers on some of the leathers they carry and all that. So let's get into it.
Perfect. So the toe shapes, we have 4 different toe shapes basically. This is the number 1 toe. It's the pointiest. This boot is built with the high arch on the number 1 toe, and then it has the Packer underslung heel. More of a cowboy look. This one is built on the number 2 toe. It has a little bit rounder to the outside of the foot, so a little more room for the little toes, a little bit rounder here. This also has the Packer underslung heel. This one is one of the most popular. This is the number 3 toe. It is built every day. There are many boots going through with the number 3 toe. It also has the high arch as well as it has the logger heel. Logger heel is great for stability. Then this one is my most popular for the work world, especially for wildland firefighting or anybody out in the woods or any walk of life. This one is the number 4 toe. Broadest, tallest, and with the logger heel on this one. So it's a great work toe. Probably about 60% of my boots that come through in the work side come through with the number 4 toe on them.
So again, my estimation, it starts pointy, gets wider, gets taller, you get a little bit more room in the toe box. As far as the heel, how do they perform difference? You got the logger down there.
Well, the Packer heel, as we call it, it's going to perform a little bit different than the logger heel because of the rubber heel cap. It's got a little bit more leather and a little less rubber.
Okay.
So you can wear the rubber cap off a little bit faster, where when you get into the work ones, you have more rubber and less leather. So
Gotcha.
It tends to last a little bit longer. And that's the same if you use the Vibram lug sole, or if you do a mini Vibram sole, you still get the thicker heel cap. So you get a little bit longer life. You also get a little more contact because it's wider.
Yep.
It's broader, so it gives you a little bit more stability when you're out there in the world.
Okay. So we're talking about the different heels, but looking at the arches, all these are pretty high on the arch.
All of these are high arch, high heel boots.
Okay.
Yes, these will carry your body weight. That is a number 1, 2, 3, and 4 toe. Now we do have the lower arch boot. This one is a low arch with the block heel. So the heel is pulled back ever so slightly and sanded more in a block design.
Gotcha.
A little dressier look to that, and it is a lower heel, lower arch, so you do carry a little more of your body weight back on your heel with this one, whereas the high heel, high arch has the weight distribution starting in the middle, and then it distributes it back and forward as needed.
So if you're coming from a tennis shoe, this wouldn't be as big of a jump as
Exactly.
these guys would be.
Yep.
Good deal. And so I think something that if you guys have checked out their Instagram or the website, you'll see all the crazy leathers that you guys have. The leathers, you know, you can get interesting with them, or you know, lots of the loggers have the plain black, maybe the rough out, maybe the smooth. But talk to us about some of your leather options.
Well, our most common leathers in the work world are the 7.5, 8 ounce. So we have that in brown, which is the chocolate brown, the walnut, and your standard black, which is this one here. 7.5, 8 ounce, oil tan leather, water resistant. Probably the longest lasting leather you're going to find in the work world. But if you want to get into a little bit more of a casual boot, dressy boot, we are building boots with Wickett and Craig. Proudly using Wickett and Craig leathers. It's very nice. Horween Chrome XL leathers, and a few others that we're using that are allowing us to custom design the boot for you.
And about a rough out, what's the difference for these guys between a rough out and a smooth skin? What would you be getting a rough out for? Is it a design preference, or is there something?
It's both. It's both. It started years ago when we all realized that when you turn the leather to the rough outside, it's harder to cut it.
Gotcha.
And when it's harder to cut it, it just means simply that it's not going to dry out as fast. Because if you get a cut on the smooth portion of leather, it'll start to dry out.
Okay.
So if it's harder to cut it, the boot tends to last longer with rough out. So
that makes sense.
Then it's turned into fashion too, because I think it's a really good looking boot.
It really is.
And,
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and we do rough out in most leathers as long as the color goes all the way through. Some of the fashion leathers, or I would say the lighter duty leathers, don't have the color all the way through, so it's white on the back side of it. But as long as it's all the way through, we can do you can match your colors. We do two-tone boots. This is an example of that two-tone. And it can be two-tone rough out if you wanted.
And talk to us about this guy here. Tell us what that's all about.
So the false tongue has a couple purposes. One is that, well, it's the look of the boot. So it's been the Northwest look for many, many years. But its functionality is that it'll protect your legs from the laces. It'll protect your legs from brush, twigs, sticks. If you get into something deep and something sticks you here, it's a little bit of protection there. And then it also protects the tongue of the boot right in this area, because this can be replaced. Unlace it, throw another one in there. This takes a lot of labor to pull the actual tongue of the boot out. We've got to pull all the hooks in the eyes, take it out, sew a new one in. So it's used to protect that as well.
That makes sense. Yeah. And we're definitely talking about the arches and the different arch profile. Again, I'm wearing some Iron Rangers today. I feel like it's sacrilegious coming here wearing them, but hey,
that's fine. That's
what we had to do to get her done. But you know, these are just like that. You're coming from a tennis shoe to a set of Iron Rangers. It's not a huge jump as far as the arch profile. Now, I've had some good boots on with a good arch profile, and that's what I'm actually in here going to be looking for today. But talk to us on that vein about the arches. And you know, a little bit ago you were just explaining to me how good an arch is for your back and if you're standing all day and working.
So that's one of the biggest questions I get. Why an arch? Most people who don't know about an arch support boot don't understand what you're going to feel when you first get it. This is the inside of the boot, cut in half. The heel is raised 2 inches. When you raise the heel 2 inches, you force the body weight forward. Once the body weight starts to move forward, we have to lift the center of it. And once you lift the center with the arch, then it starts to distribute the weight forward and backward equally. Now, people have said that this is the foot in its natural relaxed position when you raise the heel a little bit and raise the arch.
I see.
And when you have that weight distributed evenly between the heel, arch, ball, and toe, at the end of the day, your legs are less tired, your feet are less tired, everything is less tired. This is the low arch, low heel boot, and you can see the difference. The heel is back, way back here, and everything is mostly flat in here. And what happens then is you tend to lean backwards, and then you can rock your body forward, and your body's out of alignment. With the high heel, high arch, it can pull your heel back. It can pull your hips, your shoulders back and your hips forward. And then it realigns, keeps your spine as straight as possible. At the end of the day, it's way, way less fatigue. That's the difference between the two. Now, I also get asked often, if I'm flat-footed, should I have an arch? If you go to a doctor and you're flat-footed, in most cases, they're going to build you an arch support.
I see.
So the boot can do that as well. Just might be a little bit more difficult to break in.
And while we're in there, we're looking at kind of the midsole. This is stacked leather in there, and then the footbed is a piece of leather. And then you have a leather shank.
Right.
Is that across the board?
Across the board, except for on the low arch boot, piece is removed, so you don't have that because you can't create the arch with it. Trying to create a high arch with a low heel is a little bit difficult during the building process, but we can do it after. So if somebody does want the low heel, low arch, we can add a little bit in there to raise that arch up, so it does work.
Of course, now I'm feeling the outsole, and you guys, if you've watched the channel for a bit, you know that I'm a sucker for the lug outsole. I really just get a kick out of that. Unless I get a rock stuck in there, I always tell you guys, take off your boots if you're traipsing through your mother-in-law's, kitchen. You don't want to be dragging something across her hardwood floors or something. But talk to us about kind of the outsole options that you guys carry, and how can you change that per boot?
Well, you can put any sole on any boot. The Vibram lug is the #1 sole that we sell and apply to boots. But you are right. Some people have called it the divorce sole because you'll carry everything from the backyard into the house. It is the longest lasting. There are a couple different versions of the Vibram lug sole. You have the standard yellow, Vibram 100. That one has been around forever. That's the one I use. It is the longest lasting one that I have found. Then you have the red X and you have the white X soles, and the red X is your fire sole. So we can build you a boot with the red X sole, which is a fire sole, Kevlar stitching for the wildland fire world. We have those in stock in our Commander, and we can also build any boot that way. Then you move to the mini Vibram sole, which is this one. Mini Vibram sole, probably the second most used sole in our shop. Very, very popular. It doesn't carry as much into the house, but it's long lasting. This one is the V-bar sole. I like this. I've worn this on many different boots. You do lose traction a little bit quickly on this one, but it's a great long lasting sole. So,
and of course you have that honey wheat, is that
yeah, the honey Vibram sole.
Honey Vibram?
I just built myself a pair of boots, and I put the honey Vibram sole on it. It wears out a little bit faster than, people say about 20% faster than the black Vibram lug sole, but it's very soft. It's gum rubber, and it also has great traction for out there in the winter on the ice or wet conditions.
Check out that boot, man.
It's really popular.
So tell us, what boots are you wearing today?
Well, today I'm wearing the canvas boot. This is a boot that we have tested to break in. We tested the canvas boot. It's this is the first one we built. I'm probably now into it about 150 hours. I'm really impressed. And we do canvas in 4 different colors. I'm really, really happy with it.
Yeah, I first saw that pop up on Instagram. Make sure you guys check them out on Instagram, and you'll get, cued into some of the new releases and stuff like that. But, I'm really keen on getting a fitting next. So if you guys will hang with us, we're going to get me into a set of boots, and hopefully it'll give you guys some pointers as to what you can be looking out for when you're looking online, if you're communicating with them on the phone, or if you're lucky like me and you're in the area and you get to stop in. But we want to give you the confidence, that way you can put in an order online and know that, when those boots arrive, that they're going to be fitting just how they ought to be. Alright guys, so here we are, we're getting ready to get fit, and this is the process that you're going to take if you're at home. Again, there's instructions online. But we're going to walk through it right here.
So one of the most important things about this is filling out the first paper. We need all that information. Height and weight is very important to us, the brand you usually wear. If you have a competitor's brand, then sometimes we can just convert it real easy over the phone. But then when we are doing the drawing, it's fairly simple. We want it on a hard surface. Go ahead and stand up. We're going to put your right foot here, and it doesn't have to be exact, as long as you can get the pen around it. And again, a very thin pen is important. Then we want to hold that pen straight up and down. If you angle the pen, we're going to get a different reading on the width or the length. We like people to start on the inside of the foot with the start of your pen line. Come around the toe, hold the toe down with your other hand, and just keep the pen nice and tight. Go around the side, and then another very important part is that we only have one line around the heel. This will help us determine the length. You'll do that standing. When you take measurements, go ahead and have a seat. When you take measurements, you're going to do the measurements sitting. So now we take this, we set it off to the side. Well, actually, let me show you. This will help a little bit better. We stick your foot here. Okay, now when you're doing the measurements, you're going to find the ball, the instep, and the heel. Take your tape, slide it underneath, put it right here. Now the ball of the foot, and you can see in the diagram here on the paper, the ball of the foot has a big bone. Find the center of that bone. So there's going to be a soft spot, softer spot, and then the center of the bone. Put your tape right on the center of that. And then you'll have a high spot on the outside where the pinky toe starts, and then in the back of the pinky toe there's going to be a soft spot, there's going to be a center of the bone, and a soft spot. Mark your tape where you have it. This will help me when I'm doing your fit evaluation, if I can see where your tape is. Then just come up, come over, pull your tape a little bit tight, then let it rest, and that's your ball measurement. And you write that in this area, right here where it says ball. So your ball measurement is 10 1/4. So I'll put that in that area. Let's take your foot off for a minute. And we can do it like this. 10 and 1/4. And we'll follow through with the rest of the measurements. Go ahead and put your foot back there. As long as we get the toe in the right spot. There we go. Now the instep. When I go to look for the instep, I slide this under, I run my hand down, and there's a bump right here. Just about everybody will have one, and you'll have a bump on the outside of the foot. It's shown right here. It's called the cuboid bone. You run your tape right across that and behind this bump. That'll be the highest spot of the instep. And in this case, your instep is 10 3/4. Just remember that when you find the center of the bone in here, remember to give me a mark where your tape is. Here, 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 and here. And then you can wrap the tape over the top of the foot and get your measurement. Heel measurement's very simple. Keep your toe on the ground, raise your heel. Take this tape measure, just put it there. Okay, put your foot back down on the ground, and here's your heel measurement, 14 inches. Now, the legs. Now, depending on what height of boot you want to order, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, make sure the leg is straight up and down, and then we're just going to come here, and we're going to come up 6 inches. You put your finger on the 6-inch mark, and you wrap your tape or measure around it. Just make sure it's straight, and you have a 10-inch measurement at your 6-inch mark. So do that up the leg to the height that you want, and from there we can determine your leg measurements. So that's what we want you to do. Measurements for the legs are sitting, drawing for the foot is standing.
Very good.
Measurements for the foot are sitting.
Okay. Heck yeah.
So, okay. Most of you aren't going to have the Brannick device at home, so I'll show you a little bit about what we would do if you came in the store and how we would fit you. We'd have you sitting. We want your legs straight up and down. That's important. And then we'll stick your foot in here. No weight on the foot on the Brannick. It's always good to have no weight because the foot will stretch out too far. And I'm going to look at the length. By pushing your toe down, I'm going to hold your heel in the back. So I've looked at the length on this foot, then I'm going to move it over to this one. And I'm going to look at the length on this one.
11.5?
Yep, you're 11.5. And there's different shoe lasts. So it's important for people to know that if you're an 11.5 in one shoe last, you're not going to be an 11.5 in some of the others. And that's a common question that I get if I'm if I wear a size 10 in a mass-produced boot. That doesn't mean you're going to be in a size 10 in the handmade boot world. And then the different shoe last, you might be a different size in each different shoe last. So I have your size right here.
What boot do we have on?
This is the Wilshire, very popular semi-dress boot. This is made with Seidel tanning, brown domain leather. Go ahead and set it up here. And I'm going to lace you up. I like to fold the tongues like this. I'll pull the tongues out, I'll take them like this, and I'll fold them over. I like a real flat fold. Some people will pull them back and do a fold here. That can create a pinch point in the back. So often I like to pull it like this. I think this is the best way. Then you put your false tongue over the top of it, pull your laces tight. What I'm looking for when I'm lacing you up is a separation between these two side panels of the boot. We call them quarters. I'm looking for the proper separation, and it can be anywhere from 1 inch to 2, sometimes 2.5 inches, a little wide, but will still be acceptable. What I don't want to have happen is this be too close together, because then you lose all your support for the ankles. Lace you up. And then I'm going to have you stand on this one first. What I'm looking for is I want to feel this right here at the ball of your foot. Make sure there's no extra leather, it's semi-snug. And then I look for the tip of the toe. And if the tip of the toe is about right here, I want a thumb's width between tip of the toe and the end of the boot. Your toe should stop here, and the end of the boot should stop there. That's going to allow the arch support to settle and your toes to move forward about 1/2 inch or so.
Wow.
Let's put the other one on.
That's incredible, man. Gosh dang it.
Okay, set that one up here. Same thing with the folding of the tongue. Whichever way it goes best, it makes a nice flat transition down at the bottom. Go ahead and stand in front of me. I like to check both feet. Again, no extra leather there. It's a nice snug fit. Tip of your big toe is about right here, right?
Yep.
And then the big toe into the boot.
So we're on the number 3 toe, and this is which last?
The number 3 is called the 55.
Okay, very good. What would you typically have guys do?
Just walk around for a few minutes, and then when he's done, I will check the length one more time to make sure that you're not too close or too far back.
Yeah, now you can feel that arch in the middle there.
You can feel how it throws your shoulders back a little bit, balances the body weight.
Man, that
Put
feels
your
good.
hips forward.
Huh.
Now I'll check one more time. Just when looking for that, and I'm looking for the extra length tip of the toe, lift it up a little bit. There it is. I still have my thumbs width. You're not too short, you're not too long. Pretty standard fit.
That's a good looking boot, man. That's a really good looking boot. That's awesome. Gosh dang it. All right, guys, so there it is. We've went ahead and done a tour. We've seen a bunch of behind the scenes, and we got a fitting. We know a lot more than we did when we started about all the different arch profiles, the lash, the toe box, some of the outsoles, the midsoles, how these boots are constructed. Guys, I really hope at this point you'll consider subscribing. That's going to help us. It's going to give YouTube all kinds of warm and fuzzy feelings. But just real quick before we head out, just tell these guys, you know, what sets you apart from some of the other boot makers in this area and across the world? I know you guys are reaching out to Japan, and these boots are going all around the world. What sets you apart, and how can these guys get in contact with you?
Well, getting in contact with us is easy. Of course, phone number, we like to answer our phones, so 509-309-2903. And then on the website, which is franksboots.com, both plural, franksboots.com. And then what sets us apart is all the Pacific Northwest boot makers, everybody does a great job up here. They really do. We like to say we're a little different in that we are more of a mom and pop shop that creates a fantastic high quality product. We're here. My door is always open. My wife's door is always open. You can communicate with us. And we are willing to go a little bit above and beyond as far as design and fit. That might be what sets us apart a little bit. I don't push for volume. I push for quality, and I let my employees make that decision in the back room, and it's not about numbers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, we're here, boots on the ground. You know, stamp of approval. This place is awesome. We've gone through all the different color options. You know, I'm styling a set of boots for myself, so we worked through that. That's coming to you guys on a different video, and we were just able to get into the nitty-gritty and get down and dirty and just change everything up. You know, they had more options than I even wanted to go with, so there's just unlimited potential there. You can work through that on the website, give them a call, come in if you're in town. I know they're just here, right and live in person, so they're not hiding behind the walls or anything. They're right here ready to talk with you. We've met a whole bunch of staff that are willing to work through every process with you. Guys, you know, get yourself online, get yourself down here, find a set of boots, and you're gonna love it. So make sure and be looking out for that next video, because you're gonna see what boots I ordered. Until the next one, guys, God bless you, and hey, don't forget to give those boots some love from time to time.